Today we're not only unboxing the first fish for the 700-gallon aquarium, but we're also going to be adding them to that tank in this video. But first, a quick update on that tank.
And you guys just saw this a few days ago, but since that video, we've done a few different little changes. We've added in some kabamba to right around here, over here, and here, kind of like all over in this place, which is growing and doing nicely. However, you'll also notice that we added in even more sticks. The goal here is just to make the angels, the Ultimate Angels in here, feel far more secure. Obviously, I definitely need more fish for this tank, and this tank is exciting to me because due to its nature of being a community aquarium, I'm going to be able to add fish and other life forms to this aquarium slowly over time, even more plants, so now that I can actually get my hands into it. But the first fish that we want to add into it is some tetras. Now, I have a few options and things I wanted to do. First and foremost, we have to make sure that once we decide on a tetra, we can get the numbers we actually want. 2, I don't want to commit to hundreds upon hundreds of tetras right up front, because what if it's a bad batch and they all kind of, die off, or, sometimes you just have bad luck with large groups of tetras. The biggest thing is I want a true schooling fish. There are differences, of course, between schooling and shoaling. You've heard of both terms. Shoaling fish would be fish of typically the same species or type, kind of hanging out together, finding security in numbers type of thing, but just typically like their own kind. Similar to the piranha. Not a schooling fish, but these guys do shoal together. Their shoaling has a purpose. They find comfort in numbers, but also hunt in packs. Schooling is, of course, the fish of all one species not only stay in close packs together, but they all swim in the same direction at the same speed. They all move directionally with purpose. Most of the times, this is specifically for defense, because there's security in numbers. And schooling fish is what everybody gets excited about and what I really want in this tank. I don't really want an explosion of tetras just randomly all over the place. I'd rather have a massive pack that kind of swims around the tank, almost like it's its own fish made up of hundreds of little fish. And quite frankly, I couldn't decide which fish I kind of wanted to do. I had some ideas and mentioned them in past videos. They were more shoaling type tetras. And like I said, it's one thing to have an idea for a fish. It's another thing to actually be able to find it and, of course, get them in the numbers that you actually want to get. And for me, you guys know, I usually get really high quantities of fish at a time. Which I must remind you, I'm in Truro, Nova Scotia, a tiny little town on the east coast of Canada, as far east as you can go. It's really hard for me to get stuff, but I still am able to do it. So, I went to my buddy Simon at Kowloon Aquatics, also known as aquapets.ca. He owns a fish store in Scarborough, Ontario, and also represents ADA Canada. I was like, what do you think I should get? And he sent me this video right here. I was like, oh damn, that's like the tightest schooling fish I ever seen. He's like, what is it? He said the blackline tetra, also known as the Costae Tetra. Costae is Latin for ribs. This is a really popular fish amongst planted aquarium enthusiasts. Ooh, heat pack's still really warm. Literally due to how well it schools. Oh man, I don't know if I can get these guys out. The packaging in here is so good. So in Canada, we have to deal with a tremendous amount of weather issues, and we've got insulation in the box as well as a heat pack on top. Not only is the heat pack going to keep it warmer because it's still cold here, but without a heat pack, the insulation you would think would keep it the water warm, but in the summer it would also keep it cool and maintain its temperature. Here in Canada, it's technically safer to ship in the winter than it is in the summer. Ooh, these guys look great. A little washed out right now, but they look fantastic. These are way bigger than I was expecting too. And these guys do get, about 2.5, maybe? Yeah, about 2.5 inches. They're a relatively large tetra. And these are considered small, but they're actually quite big. Oh, so those are ammonia rocks in there. Wow, really good packaging. I was thinking there's rocks in the bottom. I was like, well, maybe when he scooped out the fish, he got some of the substrate in. But no, that's ammonia rocks. So they would be in there to absorb the ammonia, because you wouldn't have rocks in absolutely every bag. But he purposely put them in there. So he shipped these overnight from Ontario to Nova Scotia. I would say there's 10 in each bag. None of these are leaking. Yeah, the insulation type thing is messy, but it fills in every little crevice. And it's lightweight, of course, for shipping, but also aids in impact resistance as well. Again, just a little messy. So we're gonna have to temperature acclimate these guys. And so Simon's had them in the store for about a month or so in an isolated tank. Sent me videos of them. Oh, and a heat pack on the bottom. So heat pack on the bottom, heat pack on top. Since I heat the gallery and not the individual tanks, we'll let them temperature acclimate for maybe about 15, 20 minutes out here. A little bit, there's not much water in each bag, so it's not gonna take this long, that long, but they're gonna be able to go into the 700-gallon immediately. First and foremost, it's now cut off from the rest of the system. You guys know that I had like a water change system, which I didn't even show you yet and how I built it. So that's been disconnected. These guys being with him for over a month and his reputation precedes itself. I'm just gonna add them to the aquarium and let them kind of do their quarantine in there, since there's nothing else in there right now. Which would be a nightmare if they did end up getting something. Now, there's no way I'll be able to catch them all, but it's gonna be fine. So these guys are looking fantastic right now. We're gonna be using the plop and drop method of acclimation, which is essentially just get them out of the bag, cut the bag open, get them in the net, add them all at once. This avoids any type of toxic shock, pH jumping, ammonia exposure, that sort of thing. We've explained it in the past many, many times. You might be wondering, oh, I thought you were gonna add like 1,000 tetras, Joey. And I think that could potentially be the end goal. But, like I said, buying 1,000 fish at once, what if the whole batch doesn't make it? Then it's a total loss. Whereas if we've got about 90 here. If we do 90 at a time type of thing, 50 every couple of weeks, then we're not only diversifying the genetics of the pack, you know, likely getting from different sources and whatnot, but we're also not taking that big of a risk with having too many fish brought in at once. The other thing is, I don't know if 1,000 of these will be appropriate. I don't think we're going to be able to see the difference between 500 and 800, for example. So if we start with like, roughly 100, a couple weeks from now or so, add another 50 and then add another 50, we might get to that perfect number where the tetras are doing their job in the tank and adding to it and not being the focus. So we kind of want to go for what's going to look the best. They look good. Ooh, their black lines are coming. Look at that. That is so cool. Just let them swim out. I don't want those rocks in there. Well, I guess they can go in, but just let them all swim out on their own. That's some healthy fish. All to the bottom over here for now. I guess, he really wants to be in the net. I guess we'll give it a few hours or a couple of days. See how they look. Always double check your bags too after you add fish, just to make sure there's nothing in there.
So I must say, Simon was absolutely correct. This is the perfect fish for this aquarium. It adds to it. It doesn't take away from it. They're not the focal point. In fact, at times it's difficult to even see them. They almost look translucent. With that said, they also seem to focus themselves and stay in the light. I will say that when I feed them, they kind of break apart because the food was kind of scattering throughout the aquarium. But once we add in other fish, more larger and dominant, they're certainly going to pack up more tightly and closely. And what are some of the other fish besides the angelfish, the 12 Ultim angels that still have to go in here? They might even be the next fish that I put in here. However, I'm really happy we only added in around 90 of these guys, because if I added in 500, it's too late. There's too many, and it would just be like this big Tetra tank. I want to have tetras. I want it to be more community-like. I think we might add in another 50, see what that looks like, and then that might even be it, because these guys get up like 2.5, maybe even upwards of 3 inches in size, which is relatively big. So maybe we'll add in another 50. I definitely got to get some true Siamese algae eaters to deal with some of the more stubborn algae like hair algae and of course brush algae, that sort of thing. And then I'd like to get a bunch of autosynclus, which will deal with more of the softer algae like that goes on the glass and surfaces and whatnot. Other than that, I'm relatively open to other things we might add. I wouldn't mind more, I was thinking some different types of Corridora. I wanted to do bandits or mete, I believe, which are really similar to these guys. And a lot of the fish I'm adding are like, they look really good. They all have like a stripe on them. The angels, of course, do. These guys do. But all of these guys are coloring up and they're looking absolutely fantastic. Not a shy tetra. Out in the open, they come over to me at any time. If I tap the glass, they'll bulk up a little bit. Like that. Again, security in numbers, start moving together. It's going to be super cool once they're grown and there's other fish in there. But having these tetras in here and having them be so active towards the middle to top of the tank is definitely going to serve as a dither fish for the angels, which don't really need it because the angel fish are really friendly and outgoing as well. Anyways, that's the beginning of this tank, and I think that we're off to a really good start. I would love for the plants to grow in a lot faster, and I do have some a little bit of hair algae, story of my life. Some of the Amazon swords are beginning to melt, which was supposed to happen, but hopefully this looks half decent by the time we enter. If not, I'm really grateful for all the people I'm getting to meet on the pro level of aquascaping. And I already know tons of people that do it, but getting in behind the scenes and meeting people like Simon and others has definitely been a real treat and rewarding. Especially since now I get to introduce you to like tetras like this, which a lot of people might have already known about, but I had no clue. You don't know, there's so many different tetras, and you might have heard of it or seen of it, but you never get to experience everything. This tank is going to be so fun to stock, and to be honest with you, I believe the next order of fish will be here next week. And if you want to see that unboxing, they do got to go to quarantine because I believe most of them are wild caught, but make sure you subscribe if you're not already. If you haven't left a like on this video, please do. And let me know in the comment section below what you think of the tank so far and if these tetras were a good idea. Obviously, we need more and we're working on it. But again, if I added 500, maybe it's too much. I think this is safer. 100 to 50 at a time. The next time, 50. Time after that, 50. And I think we're going to hit the magic number at around 150 to 200. But we'll see. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the videos. See you in the next one.